You've been taught that love conquers all, that kindness is strength, that being good gets you ahead. But what if everything you believed about human nature was a beautiful lie designed to keep you weak and powerless? If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely, if you've watched manipulators climb while good people fall, if you're tired of being the one who always gets hurt, then you've stumbled upon a truth that most people will never face. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about understanding the game everyone else is already playing while you're still believing in fairy tales. Before we dive into this life-changing revelation, hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to share will fundamentally shift how you see every relationship, every interaction, and every power dynamic in your life. The thumbnail says, "Fear over love." And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Machiavelli's most controversial insight might be the most honest thing anyone has ever told you about survival in this world. The beautiful lie we've all been sold. Stop believing you're the exception. Stop thinking your goodness will save you. Let me ask you something that might sting. How many times have you chosen to be vulnerable, only to watch someone use that vulnerability against you? How many times have you extended love, trust, and genuine care, only to be left wondering why you always end up as the fool in other people's stories? You see, from the moment we're born, we're fed this intoxicating narrative that love is the ultimate power, that kindness always wins, that good people finish first. Your parents told you to treat others how you want to be treated. Your teachers praised you for sharing. Society celebrates the martyrs, the selfless, the ones who give until they have nothing left. But here's what nobody told you. While you were learning to love unconditionally, others were learning to take advantage of unconditional love. While you were developing empathy, others were studying how to exploit empathy. While you were building your identity around being good, others were building their empires on the backs of good people. Niccolò Machiavelli, writing in 16th century Italy, observed something that made him one of history's most misunderstood figures. He noticed that the leaders who lasted, who protected their people, who actually created stable societies, weren't the ones who ruled with love alone. They were the ones who understood a fundamental truth about human nature that we're still too scared to admit today. Love, as beautiful as it is, makes you predictable. It makes you vulnerable. It gives others a roadmap to your weaknesses. When people know you'll always choose compassion over strategy, always forgive rather than retaliate, always trust rather than verify, you become the easiest target in the room. Think about your own life. The person who hurt you most deeply, didn't they know exactly how to do it because they knew how much you loved them? The colleague who stole your ideas, the friend who betrayed your secrets, the partner who cheated, they all had one thing in common. They knew your love would make you hesitate to protect yourself until it was too late. Your capacity to love isn't your weakness, but your inability to inspire fear might be your downfall. The power dynamics you've been ignoring. What Machiavelli understood, and what you're beginning to see now, is that power isn't about being cruel or heartless. It's about understanding that respect without the possibility of consequences is just politeness. And politeness disappears the moment it becomes inconvenient for others. Let me paint a picture that will hit close to home. Think about the people in your life who you truly respect versus those you simply like. The boss, who everyone respects, isn't necessarily the nicest one. They're the one whose boundaries are clear and whose consequences are real. The parent whose children grow up most successful isn't always the most permissive. They're the one who balanced love with accountability. Now, think about yourself. In how many relationships are you the one always accommodating, always understanding, always making excuses for other people's behavior while they never have to make excuses for yours? You've become so comfortable in your role as the good person that you've forgotten something crucial. Good people who can't protect themselves don't stay good for long. They either become victims or they become bitter. Machiavelli wrote, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." This isn't about becoming a tyrant. This is about recognizing that when someone has to choose between respecting you and taking advantage of you, fear of consequences is often the only thing that tips the scale toward respect. You see it everywhere once you start looking. The employee who never says no gets the most work dumped on them. The friend who always forgives gets their boundaries violated most often. The partner who loves unconditionally often finds themselves loving someone who feels entitled to that love rather than grateful for it. Fear, in Machiavelli's framework, isn't about terror or cruelty. It's about the healthy understanding that actions have consequences, that your kindness has limits, and that crossing certain lines will result in real change in how you engage with someone. It's about being unpredictable enough that people can't take your responses for granted. The people who hurt you most counted on your love, making you predictable. What if you became beautifully unpredictable instead? Why your goodness has become your prison. Here's where this gets personal, and I need you to really sit with this. Your commitment to being loving, understanding, and kind has probably become a prison you don't even recognize you're in. You've trained everyone around you to expect that you'll always be the reasonable one, the forgiving one, the one who bends to keep the peace. But what happens to a person who never experiences consequences for taking advantage of kindness? They lose respect for kindness entirely. They begin to see it as weakness rather than strength. They start to believe that your love is cheap because it costs them nothing to receive it. Machiavelli observed that human nature has a dark side that we ignore at our own peril. People don't just want what's best for everyone. They want what's best for themselves, and they'll often sacrifice others' well-being to get it. Not because they're evil, but because they're human. And humans, when they encounter no resistance, tend to take more than they give. Think about the last time someone really respected a boundary you set. Now think about the last time someone ignored a boundary you set. What was the difference? The difference was consequences. When there were real consequences for crossing your line, it got respected. When there weren't, it got trampled. Your love becomes most valuable when people understand it can be withdrawn. Your kindness becomes most meaningful when people know it's a choice, not an obligation. Your presence becomes most cherished when people recognize it's not guaranteed forever, regardless of how they treat you. This is why Machiavelli's insight cuts so deep. He's not telling us to stop loving. He's telling us to love strategically, to give our trust earned, to make our kindness conditional on basic respect. He's saying that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's self-destruction with good intentions. Every person who ever took advantage of your kindness was counting on something specific, that you'd never change the game. The strategic power of calculated unpredictability. Now we're getting to the part that might make you uncomfortable, but it's also the part that will set you free. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for cruelty. He was advocating for strategic thinking. He understood that the most powerful position you can occupy is one where people know you're capable of both tremendous kindness and absolute ruthlessness when the situation calls for it. Let me show you how this works in your daily life. The reason some people command respect effortlessly isn't because they're mean. It's because they're unpredictable in their responses to being tested. When someone crosses their boundary, that person never quite knows if they'll get understanding or immediate consequences. This uncertainty makes people more careful, more respectful, more considerate. But you've been beautifully, tragically predictable. People know that if they push your boundaries, You'll probably absorb the discomfort to keep the peace. They know that if they take advantage of your kindness, you'll likely make excuses for their behavior. They know that your love for them will make you hesitate to protect yourself effectively. Machiavelli's genius was recognizing that power isn't about what you do, it's about what people believe you might do. When someone knows you'll always choose the path of least conflict, you have no power in that relationship. When someone isn't quite sure how you'll respond to being disrespected, suddenly they're much more careful about disrespecting you. This doesn't mean becoming cruel or manipulative. It means becoming strategically unpredictable. It means sometimes choosing consequences over understanding. It means occasionally letting people experience what life is like without your constant accommodation. It means being willing to be disliked if the alternative is being taken for granted. The people who navigate life most successfully aren't the nicest people. They're the people who are nice when it serves everyone, and firm when it serves justice. They're people who can love deeply and withdraw that love decisively when it's being abused. What if the key to being truly powerful wasn't being consistently kind, but being consistently fair? Reconditioning yourself for strategic relationships. This is where everything changes. Where you stop being the person things happen to, and start being the person who decides what happens. Machiavelli's insight isn't just philosophical, it's practical. It's about reconditioning yourself to operate from a position of strength, rather than a position of perpetual vulnerability. First, you need to understand that healthy fear in relationships isn't about intimidation. It's about respect for your capacity to choose. When people fear losing access to your love, your time, your energy, they treat these gifts with reverence. When they take these gifts for granted, they treat them carelessly. Start paying attention to how differently people treat you when they're not sure of your response, versus when they're certain you'll accommodate them. Notice how much more thoughtful someone becomes when they're not 100% sure you'll always be available for their convenience. The most powerful shift you can make is moving from unconditional love to conditional engagement. This doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop giving people unlimited access to the benefits of your love when they're not respecting the basic requirements of receiving it. Love can be eternal. Access to your time, energy, and emotional resources should be earned daily. Machiavelli understood that the moment people become certain of your response, they stop considering how their actions affect you. They stop growing in the relationship because they know they don't have to. They stop appreciating what you bring because they know it will always be there regardless of their behavior. But when people understand that your love comes with expectations, that your kindness has limits, that your patience isn't infinite, they become better partners, friends, colleagues, and family members. Not because they fear you, but because they respect the fact that you respect yourself enough to have standards. The moment you become willing to lose someone is the moment you gain the power to have a real relationship with them. The transformation begins with one decision. Here's what nobody tells you about implementing Machiavelli's wisdom. The hardest person to convince that you deserve respect is often yourself. You've been so invested in being the good person that you've forgotten that good people protect themselves, set boundaries, and refuse to enable bad behavior in others. The transformation begins with one simple decision. You decide that your peace of mind is more important than other people's comfort with taking advantage of you. You decide that your well-being matters as much as everyone else's. You decide that love without respect isn't love at all. It's just complicated self-harm. This means you'll have to disappoint some people. Some people will be shocked when you start saying no. Some will be confused when you stop making excuses for their behavior. Some will even be angry when they realize they can no longer treat you however they want without consequences. Let them be disappointed. Let them be confused. Let them be angry. Their discomfort with your boundaries is proof that your boundaries were needed. Their resistance to treating you better is evidence that they were treating you worse than you deserved. Machiavelli would tell you that the people who get upset when you start respecting yourself were never really on your side to begin with. They were just benefiting from your lack of self-respect. Real friends, real partners, real family members will actually be relieved when you start protecting yourself, because it means they no longer have to worry about inadvertently taking advantage of your kindness. The most beautiful part of this transformation? You don't become a worse person. You become a more powerful person. You don't lose your capacity for love. You gain the ability to love effectively. You don't become cruel. You become strategically kind, which is infinitely more valuable than being predictably kind. Your old self was easy to love and easy to leave. Your new self will be harder to love but impossible to forget. Mastering the art of strategic emotional investment. Now we enter the advanced level of Machiavelli's wisdom. Understanding that emotional investment should be strategic, not automatic. You've probably been giving your full emotional investment to relationships before people have proven they deserve it, which is like giving someone the keys to your house before you know if they're a thief. Strategic emotional investment means you start small and increase based on how people handle the trust you give them. It means you pay attention to patterns, not just promises. It means you believe people's actions over their words, their consistency over their intensity, their respect for your boundaries over their declarations of love. This is where the fear Machiavelli talks about becomes most relevant. People should have a healthy fear of losing access to the best parts of you, not because you're withholding love as manipulation, but because you're only giving your deepest love to people who've proven they can handle it responsibly. Think about it this way. You wouldn't give a loaded gun to someone who's never shown they can handle weapons safely. Why would you give your heart, your trust, your time, and your energy to people who've never shown they can handle these gifts responsibly? The people in your life should understand that your love, while genuine, isn't guaranteed to continue if they consistently disrespect it. Your kindness, while real, isn't an invitation for people to take advantage. Your understanding, while deep, doesn't mean you'll understand away every boundary violation. This creates what Machiavelli would call virtuous fear, the healthy concern that motivates people to be their best selves in relationship with you. When people know that treating you badly could result in losing access to you entirely, they're motivated to treat you well, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's challenging. The people who truly love you will thank you for having standards. Everyone else will reveal themselves. Your power lies in your willingness to walk away. Here's the ultimate truth that Machiavelli understood about power. Your greatest strength in any relationship is your willingness to end it if necessary. Not your desire to end it, but your willingness to do so if the other person refuses to meet basic standards of respect and reciprocity. Most people sense whether you're truly willing to walk away, or if you're just threatening to walk away. And if they sense you're not actually willing to leave, they'll push boundaries until they find your breaking point. But if they sense you genuinely would rather be alone than be disrespected, they'll work harder to keep you by treating you better. This doesn't mean you should be constantly threatening to leave relationships. It means you should cultivate genuine self-respect and independence, so that you never feel trapped in situations where you're being mistreated. When you know you'll be okay without someone, you can love them without needing them, and that's when love becomes most powerful. Machiavelli observed that leaders who were too afraid of being alone often made terrible decisions to avoid abandonment. They would compromise their values, ignore red flags, and enable destructive behavior just to maintain connection. But leaders who were comfortable with solitude could make decisions based on principle rather than fear. The same applies to your personal relationships. When you're comfortable being alone, you can choose relationships based on their quality rather than your loneliness. When you know you can survive without someone's love, you can require that their love comes with basic respect. When you're not afraid of being disliked, you can tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. This is why Machiavelli said it's safer to be feared than loved, not because fear is better than love, but because the fear of losing you makes people cherish you. When someone knows you're not afraid to be without them, they're motivated to give you reasons to want to be with them. The choice. So here you are, at the crossroads between the person who gets taken advantage of and the person who commands genuine respect. Between someone who loves desperately and someone who loves powerfully. Between being predictable and being strategically unpredictable. Machiavelli's insight wasn't cruel. It was compassionate toward your future self. He was telling you that if you want to survive and thrive in a world full of people who will test your boundaries, you need to make those boundaries mean something. If you want to love people effectively, you need to love yourself strategically. The choice is yours. You can continue being the person who everyone knows will always accommodate, always forgive, always understand, and watch as people continue to take advantage of that predictability. Or you can become the person who loves deeply but conditionally, who gives generously but strategically, who trusts earnestly but carefully. Your old way of loving made you easy to take for granted. Your new way of loving will make you impossible to forget. The people worth keeping will rise to meet your standards. The people not worth keeping will eliminate themselves. Power isn't about being feared for being cruel. It's about being respected for being willing to protect yourself. Love isn't about accepting everything. It's about creating space for the best in people to emerge by refusing to enable their worst. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to stop being everyone's second choice and start being your own first priority, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights that will change how you see relationships forever. And leave a comment below. What's one boundary you've been afraid to set that you're now ready to implement? Your transformation starts with your next decision. Make it count.